I just want to reiterate Susan's welcome and my own enthusiasm to hear from our youth speakers today. I'm Sam, I'm Lookup's Executive Director, and I'm so thankful that you're all here with us. We have an incredible lineup today, beginning with our first panel, Tech for Good, followed by Tech Life Balance, Fact or Cap. If you check out the poll, you can actually see all of the panels today. So I'll just draw your attention to the poll. Please respond to it. I'm excited to see which ones you all are excited about. We will have a short break this morning as well with a special youth-led mindfulness session. I hope you'll join me for that. To see the rest of the schedule, again, you can see all of the panels. If you look at the poll, you can also refer to the reception button on the left of your Hopin portal, where you can see the whole schedule for the day, including breaks, time for networking. It's a full day, but we hope that our mindful breaks help achieve at least a little bit of balance. With that, I'll ask Kate to bring our first panel to the stage and welcome our moderator, Sanat, who is the founder of the app Unmasked and who is a mental health advocate. Sanat, I'll leave you to introduce your panel, and I'll head back and join the audience for what is sure to be an incredible discussion.
Hi, so I think that our moderator, Sanat, is experiencing some technical difficulties, so she's able to join us yet. But do you all just want to kind of get started with our introductions?
Yeah, let's do that. I can start. Hello, everybody. My name is Antonio. I'm the founder of Dachi, which is a behavior change app for social media addiction. I don't know if you want to follow on, Renee.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Renee, and I'm the founder of Friendover, which is an app that allows children to be physically active and conversational with their friends while they're playing online.
Hi, everybody. My name is Felix. I'm the founder of Telos. I'm in Amsterdam, and my app helps people connect in the real world together.
Hi, everyone. I'm Taylor. I'm currently in Massachusetts, and I'm the founder of Inlet, which is you can find at inlet.space, and is a web app to encourage more mindful use of social media through artistic and creative mediums.
Hey, everybody. So while Sanat figures out the technical difficulties, I will actually pinch hit moderate. So Antonio, Renee, Felix, Taylor, thank you so much for just rolling with the little technical difficulties. It wouldn't be a virtual event without one, right? So thank you for starting to introduce yourself. I would love to ask the first question, and if Sanat can join us, I will hand it over to him and let him take over, but otherwise I will moderate. If you can talk about how long you have been working on your project and what inspired you and where you are now, I would love to hear that from each of you.
Should I start?
Go for it.
Okay, so I have started working on Dachi around just a bit less than 1 year ago. We started in January 2022, and I got inspired to work on a solution for social media addiction. I think partly because I felt this problem, like I had this problem myself, and it was trying to find a way to maybe, figure out a solution for a problem that I myself felt, like a way to cure myself to some degree. And I did see also all over, like so many people, so many of my friends also felt some sort of degree of social media addiction. And so that's why I got inspired to work on this problem. And with my team, we now have a working app that's available, and people have been using it all over the world and it has had some real effect on social media addiction for our users.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, can you guys hear me? Sorry for the delay. Had a few issues with hopping this morning. Thank you, Antonio.
Sanat, we just got started, and we were running through just the sort of first few problem questions, and Antonio got us kicked off. So I'll hand it back over to you, and I will leave.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Sam. Okay, thanks, Antonio. Renee, would you want to go next?
Sure. So yeah, I worked on Friendover for about 2 years, and it was really sort of a pandemic innovation, a pandemic idea. I noticed that my 11-year-old little brother was really struggling a lot to socialize online. So, we as adults, we have Hopin, we have Zoom, we have FaceTime, and those are great platforms for, grown people to have conversations, but children socialize differently. There wasn't like a platform out there that was sort of meant for really like meaningful online socialization between children, more than just messaging, more than just games. So I wanted to create something that allowed students and kids, younger kids, to sort of like use their voices and to use their physical presence to sort of interact online with their friends. So yeah, it took us about 2 years to build a prototype, and unfortunately, we're not doing the app anymore, but it was an incredible learning journey to just like from start to finish, from idea to user, to build something in tech for good.
Thanks, Renee. Felix, would you want to go next?
Yeah. So my journey started about 6 years when I thought how to become happy, basically, as I think everybody wants that. So self-development was very important, and what I learned very fast from just reading about positive psychology, how to get actually happier, is that the opposite of self-development is self-comparison. So I was looking at social media as like, this is not going to help, and based on that, I started on this journey of learning everything, designing, and that led me to design Telos, and really work on like how can I get more awareness about the problem. So right now the app is very small, and it's a really nice catalog about like everything that you should know about social media, from book summaries to videos, and I thought it was really important to share that. So that's what I built, and it's now in the App Store, and it has helped some people and quite made some things actionable, and that is really important for me. So I'm already seeing some impact, but the future is more exciting even. So I'm working on this new feature, trying to make something more social and really bring people offline together. I think that is, of course, the real purpose of what these social networks should have done in the first place. Yeah, that's my part.
Thanks, Felix. Taylor, would you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I think I started Inlet probably around 2 years ago, and it actually like feels like a really long time now. And I originally started because I was one of my close friends in high school. We didn't live in the same state, actually. Like, we met at a summer camp, and so I kind of interacted with her digitally all the time. And she was like kind of going through some difficulties, and I really wanted to be there and try and comfort her. And I sent her a lot of different like art and writing and poetry and music, and that was kind of like my way of like showing support and expressing like comfort. And I realized that it was like kind of, I mean, I just sent it like all through text message, but I realized that it would be really cool if there was a platform that could create kind of a mood board that like put all these things together that you could share with other people as like a care package, and also just like create for yourself. especially kind of as an alternative to just sharing like photos on social media. I think sharing like more like artistic mediums can be like both really reflective for you and really nice, because it kind of gets away from that like constant comparison of social media. And so I didn't really I had a little bit of computer science background, but not very much to like ever build an app. But I kind of just started on it, and has been like a while learning the different platforms I can use to build technology. But Inlet is currently like basically fully functional, and it's a web app only. And I think right now the stage we're at is really like trying to think about how we can better tailor it to what we want to accomplish. So not just have like people use it, but actually have them use it and make a difference. And then sorry, I'm kind of getting lost. Oh, and then also like thinking about how we can have more people use the platform as well.
Thanks, Taylor. Yeah, I can give a little bit of detail on what I do as well, just to kind of round out the group. So I also started a Tech for Good initiative. It's been a few years as well, which is, kind of crazy to say. But yeah, I started Unmasked, which is kind of like a mental health peer support platform, almost like a Reddit for mental health, where the idea is like by crowdsourcing mental health support, we're able to make it a little bit more accessible. So kind of what Taylor's doing, combining social media elements to make the whole user experience a little bit more interactive for people. Also have kind of like a functional app on the App Store, Play Store, and yeah, we've made it to about 14,000 users at around 46 universities. So it's getting a little bigger, but still on the smaller side. But yeah, I think we had like a direct follow-up question that we'll quickly take from the audience. I think, yeah, for Taylor or for Antonio, looking back, what advice would you give someone who is thinking about applying for the Innovator Challenge? One of you, is good to go.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you can go, Taylor.
Oh, okay. Sorry, the Zoom timing is interesting. I guess my biggest advice is just to really kind of, I guess in terms of when you're applying, I feel like think about your story and like what makes you unique and like why you're really passionate about it. And also just like really bring in all the people on your team together around the challenge.
Antonio, do you want to follow up on that?
Yeah, I think definitely the making sure that there are also other people with you who can support you, and showing that it's not just you, but also you're there with your team, and it's a whole group effort. I think that's very important when you're in a startup or in general in a project, because it's very tough to create a product, and you definitely need all the help you can get. And this is both before applying, and this is gonna be good for your application, but also if you get in, and when you get in, making sure that you get all the support you can, also from the Lookup team, the mentor. And this is a very great space. So many people are willing to help. So making sure to like take advantage of this fact.
Yeah, thanks, Antonio. It seems like we can kind of get a little bit deeper into like how the projects have been going so far. So maybe we could talk a little bit about what challenges we've been dealing with as we kind of work on these Tech for Good initiatives. I think they seem like really exciting to start, but I think the devil's often in the details. Maybe Renee, would you want to start and like get into some of, obviously like, you didn't end up pursuing your project, so maybe you have some insight into like some of like the hidden challenges of working on an initiative like this.
Yeah, certainly. And I think this is sort of a challenge for a lot of creative people, a lot of like idea people. Like the details are what you don't want to deal with. You want to be the founder, you want to do the vision, you want to like talk to users. And so having to, I don't know, like look up different corporate structures or like think about a business model or you know, navigate legal regulations properly. Like this is all stuff that you might not have experience with, and that can be sort of a real hurdle. I think for me, I really enjoyed the opportunity to get to learn about some of those like harder skills, like things like accounting and things like you know, the intricacies of like child privacy laws, because my app was for children. So I enjoyed learning about those things. I think a challenge that I faced, certainly working on my project, was that I wasn't a technical founder and my product was highly technical. So it was a machine learning integrated app with video conferencing and networked gaming capabilities. It was like a very like hefty thing. And I was still in college, so most of my peers, even if they were studying tech, science, computer science, might not have had experience with those things either. And so what I really did, and what I wish I did even more of, was I really leaned on people older than me to mentor me and to offer expertise, and at times even like, you know, like literally hard coding, which was so wonderful to have. You know, people come in and tell me, oh yeah, like, you know, this is feasible, this isn't feasible. And yeah, I think one thing I would say, if you are facing a hurdle in your idea, is to try to talk about that hurdle with as many people as you possibly can, people that you trust, because sometimes as a founder, you might not know when it's time to quit versus when it's time to keep going. You might have like, I don't know, you might have like, I guess talking to other people about your hurdles helps you see them with clear eyes, and whether or not this is something that you even like want to continue working through, is something that like you'll get more clarity on as you talk to more and more people. And that's what I did, and that's how I made the decision to sort of put the project aside. But yeah, I hope that helps. It's sort of a little rambly answer, but
Totally fine. Yeah, thank you, Renee. Felix, would you want to talk about some of the challenges you've run into working on Telos?
Yeah, for sure. Many challenges. It's really hard to build something from scratch. There's a really high bar to really pass through to get that exciting user. Like nowadays, we're used to everything just working perfectly. And of course, like if something is super simple, it has been conversely incredibly hard to build. One of the challenges that I faced was I'm a UI designer by trade. So right now I'm also there's a deficit of technical expertise on my team. So I had to, at some point, bring in that talent, and for that I needed some to raise some funds. So I did raise about 45,000 to hire these freelancers. But I would really say that it is so much more fulfilling and so much more also productive just to get somebody on the team. You really want to do this together, I think. You want people on the bus, and that search for me is still going on. So it's still a challenge that is I'm facing every day. I'm searching for the right like partner. It is a marriage, of course, but yeah, doing it together is, I think, the best thing to really build something. So that's one of the challenges that I was facing. Also, it's a hard subject because I really see it as the next climate change. You have a product and you have this externality. With climate change, all this carbon dioxide coming in the air, and then somebody like a scientist comes to us and says, yeah, somebody has to pay for that. The same thing is right now with the attention economy. Somebody has to pay for all this attention, all this distraction. And basically to tell that to users, it's quite hard. They don't want to quit. Social media has a lot of joy for them, and to be the one to tell them, hey, there are some psychological externalities with social media, especially extended use. It's a hard sell. So how to make something really new that is like fun without the constraint, because people, they don't want to sell into, oh, let's use less. We want to keep using energy with climate change, despite climate change. So you have to make it fun. So you have to make electric cars amazing. Same thing with this. You really want to make a new experience. You really want to make it fun. So it's not like, oh, we cannot have that. We have to be conservative. You want to make something that is fun in its own, without the bad qualities. And discovering that, I think that is one of the challenges that I'm facing right now. What can that be? But yeah, what I want to convey very much is create that experience, make it a standalone, beautiful experience on its own, not just a lesser version of what we have right now.
Yeah, thanks, Felix. I could definitely speak to some of like the challenges that you've described as well, where, you know, like I'd say the biggest challenge I've run into with Unmasked is kind of getting people to do things that they should do, but don't necessarily want to do, right? Like
Exactly.
in the context of mental health, like it's not like a fun thing to like be vulnerable, talk about your problems, even though it is generally like good for you to do. So like it's been tricky navigating that line, like where the app is, you know, very social media-esque, and that's good, and that it encourages people to like joke around and talk about random stuff. But I know like the key value that, you know, the problem I'm trying to solve is like this like discomfort with vulnerability, and try to make the space somewhat conducive to mental health. So it's like, you know, it's tricky to get people to really engage when like they're so used to the kind of addictive social media model, where it's like, okay, if I'm using my phone, it's like for a break, it's for a distraction. I want to do something fun that wastes time, rather than like, I want to use this app that will like help me with my problems.
Exactly.
And everyone's used to like apps being fun. So
Yeah,
that's like, you know, one of the main challenges I've run
for
into.
me, very much.
Yeah.
The goal has always been, there's this great quote, I don't remember who said it. It's definitely not mine, but the goal shouldn't be to spend less time on your phone. The goal should be to spend more time in your life. So that's really the framework that's important.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think like maybe we can zoom out a little bit and talk about maybe some like the broader problems that we think that maybe technology has created in our society. Like, you know, Felix obviously talked about like technology being a little akin to climate change, or like a more obvious kind of like catastrophe, maybe with like some kind of impending doom. But maybe, yeah, we could get into like the problems technology has created for society, and maybe ways that like people can improve things. Like what do you all see as like a vision of progress, or just like, you know, solutions to kind of the harms that technology has created? Maybe Antonio, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna narrow down a little bit, just talking more about social media, because that's what I have more knowledge about, because I mean, technology is very like broad topic. But about social media, I think the point, like the dangers of it, are a lot about what is the attention economy, and how we are now used to just getting constantly engaged by so much information that is creating this whole like continuous dopamine hits, and we are not used anymore to like be able to focus for a very long time. I think we are getting less and less able to do that, and definitely social media has had that problem. And the reason is that is just how they need to make their products. Their products have to be as addictive as possible, because that's their business model. If we use, for example, Facebook for longer, Facebook is gonna make more money. We will be able to see more ads and so on. And I think these are problems that they're big problems, of course. And I don't think there is one simple solution to it. I think we as humans, our behavior is tends to go in that direction, right? There is a part of us that likes being engaged all the time. And figuring out the solution, that's very difficult, especially as that's very individual. It depends on the person, and it requires oftentimes hard work. And so maybe there will be part of the solution that will be coming from regulations, especially I'm thinking more about teens and children, as they have less, for example, self-control. Yeah, it's a very tricky topic.
Yeah, I completely agree, Antonio. And I think going back to what Felix said about people spending more time in their lives, I think that kind of builds the awareness, the self-awareness to be like, maybe I do want to spend less time on social media because I'd rather be outside, away from my phone, all of these things. Yeah, maybe Taylor, do you want to talk about, it's obviously a broad topic, but maybe you want to speak on anything that Antonio said about technology and social media, or maybe share your thoughts on some solutions.
Yeah, I definitely agree, echoing everything Antonio said. I think he put it really beautifully. And I guess it is kind of a hard topic, and I don't think there will be a single solution. And I think it's really interesting though to see through these panels throughout today. I'm sure there will be so many different things that are popping up, and hopefully a lot of excitement. I think that perhaps it kind of, because it is such an intangible thing where it is both, there are corporations with a lot of kind of power and resources trying to continue this. It means that there needs to be a lot of smaller, almost in politics, how there's grassroots campaigns. I guess I see it the same way, where there's a lot of kind of different grassroots things that are happening. And I think that perhaps since it is a social thing, it will also maybe come down to having alternatives, because people are so used to now using social media for connecting with people, and it does have that tangible benefit. You do feel a lot more connected sometimes, and there is some aspects of actual joy that you get from social media, and I think just completely abstaining from that and not using social media anymore after an entire generation basically has grown up on social media doesn't seem super realistic. But I think if there is some alternative that is less addictive and less or other multiple alternatives where you can still kind of get that connection, but without all of the ads and the targeted and continue scrolling, all of that, I think that that's kind of something that might draw more people away from conventional social media platforms.
Yeah, thanks, Taylor. That's a lot to think about there. We had a question submitted, which was how to balance mental health and technology while using technology, right? And that's kind of one of the hidden conundrums of developing a technological solution to fix maybe technology itself is maybe a root cause of why some of these problems are happening. Maybe it's a question of form and medium, and that the solution might have to come a little more externally, to go to in person, let's say a meditation event, rather than using an app on your phone that helps you meditate. Felix, do you have any thoughts on using technology to solve technology's problems? What do you think about that question?
Ideally, I want to live in a world where there is no conflict inherently, of course. But on a more personal, pragmatic stance, for me, after like I'm really curious about the problem, and every time I'm going on social media, Instagram, I get this innate feeling like this is not the person I want to be. And basically, from psychology, they basically say like if you want to abstain from something, then don't say I can't. Say I'm not this kind of person. So make it very much about your identity, I would say, and it will become dramatically easier. Like I think the results in the like a random trial was like 400% after like 6 months that they could obtain the behavioral change. So that's a bit pragmatically. Yeah. Furthermore, I don't have very great answers on this. Maybe Renee has some good advice.
Yeah, no, I think what you said about linking it to your identity, thinking about really consciously what kind of person that you want to be in relationship to social media. And then lastly, I think I was told by one of my professors, whenever you want to change a habit or break a habit, you should put something else in its place. So it's no use to, throw away habits and then do nothing in their stead. So instead of using your phone when you feel anxious or when you feel lonely or when you feel sad, make an action plan of what you're going to do instead. Whether it's, engaging in some sort of creative outlet, using the Inlet app, doing something with a friend, spending some time with a family member, going outside, taking a walk. Yeah, there's a lot you can do. And I think also something that we should all be doing is tracking the hours that we spend online, because once you actually start to see those hours add up, it can be a real wake-up call if that information's always sort of in your mind. Yeah.
On that note, I do have a widget that always shows my hours straight on my lock screen. So that's also.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Renee. So we had a question from Jeffrey in the audience. As the virtual world becomes more and more seductive, more people will be asking, why not live in that world most of the time? How can we respond to this? So this kind of gets into like maybe like the metaverse questions of like how much of the real world can be simulated in a virtual sense, and like maybe like a broader question of like, is it good for like, humans to be socializing in the virtual world versus in the real world? Like how comparable is it? And, is that good for us? Who wants to speak on that question? And Todia, what do you think?
Sure. I think that there is one maybe common misconception. I don't know. Maybe it's not common, but at least I know that some people believe that things that are more engaging or things that are more, let's say, seductive are things that will bring us are the things that we want to do and are the things that are more meaningful to us. But that is often not the case. Binge watching shows, binge eating, like anything that's too much in excess usually is not something that brings us joy in the long term. It's not something that we find meaningful. And I think that is gonna be the answer. So I think that people will realize either by overusing whatever that will be, whatever this like the virtual world will be. So if we're talking about the metaverse, or if we're talking even just about social media, I think that people will realize at some point that it's not what they want to spend their time with. So I think it's about meaning. I think it's about value, and that's going to be the key.
Can I jump in here and just share something?
Yeah.
So
Got it.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Gartner technology hype cycle. If you're not, just type it into Google and you'll see. So it's sort of a a way of thinking about public reactions to new technologies. So first, we have a massive growth in expectations and hopes for new technology. So, you know, the metaverse is going to save us. It's going to lead to better connections. It's going to like help us with our physical and mental health. And then you have this peak of what they call the peak of inflated expectations. And then suddenly people realize, oh no, there are, you know, negative things associated with this technology. It's not as great as we thought it was. And you sink into this trough of disillusionment. And then gradually, there's like, you know, we become more wise to the benefits and drawbacks of this technology. And we reach this like plateau of like how we actually end up using the technology. And I think when it comes to metaverse technology, and AR and VR and mixed reality, we are now falling into the trough of disillusionment where a lot of these platforms during the pandemic raised crazy amounts of money, billions and billions of dollars in valuations. And now people are saying, wait a minute, I don't think I want to like live my whole life online. I don't really want to like go on a date in the metaverse or eat dinner in the metaverse. I want to eat dinner in the real world with my friends. So I think we're right to be skeptical at this point in the technology cycle. And I don't think that we will always feel this way about the metaverse. I think we'll find ways to adapt. That's really all like I wanted to say. But I think that the hype cycle is a really good way of thinking about this technology and how we're feeling about it in this particular moment.
Yeah, thank you so much, Renee. Felix, I think you might have something to contribute.
The question is really interesting, and it reminds me of what historian and author Yuval Noah Harari says, where, and we are now in this realization phase, as Renee rightly points out, and I think the realization is just plainly what he said. He calls the problem, which is people have bodies, and that really is fundamentally the problem with why they don't enjoy the digital over the real world. Yes, we can get addictive. Yes, if you put a whole team of persuasive technologists on it, we'll get compulsive. But it is not really the meaningful relationships. And that realization is now really like on our shoulders. Secondly, what I found also very important to point out is that every time I'm with people online, it's not being with people, it's keeping up with people. It's not the rejuvenating, pleasurable feeling of like just sitting in front of each other with a cup of coffee, looking each other in the eye, not only verbal but non-verbal. Like if somebody would invent that today and compare that to like Zoom or something, you would see like, okay, we have a 10x improvement in understanding, emotional like rejuvenation. So it will be considered a real innovation. And that's the realization right now that I think we are facing. And that's why I don't think inherently that these social spaces will replace the real meaningful social interactions that we're supposed to have with each other.
Yeah, no, thank you, Felix. That's a really good point. And I think, yeah, like some of my thoughts on that question, because like, in some sense, I'm trying to replicate, like, running like a mental health social media platform, I'm trying to replicate some of the value of communication. And I think I try to lean in on like what we can get out of virtual engagement without letting it, become like the primary means of it, engaging with each other, where, and then we have an anonymous platform, and I think it's nice for people to engage in terms of substance without necessarily like having to deal with all the anxieties of being in person with someone. But I do think like the kind of terminal goal of that virtual contact is to like get to know people in person, or to help people feel more comfortable engaging with each other in the real world. So it's like the virtual is useful, but I also agree that it'll be hard to substitute, because, the more time we spend with each other in person, the more likely we are to, get out of the hype cycle, as Renee's mentioned. We're getting near the end, so maybe we can kind of transition to like closing statements, but also, if anyone in the audience has last questions for the panel, would love to hear that. But yeah, I think like some of the reflection ideas come at the end. Like, what advice do you have for anyone that's interested in starting their own initiative? Or if you could go back to when you first started working on your project, what would you have done differently? Antonio, do you have any thoughts on either question?
Yeah, I think I have, maybe an advice that I would give to myself if I had to start this again. It would be to lean in even more on external help. This is something that we have started doing since the end of the summer, on getting researchers in to actually build some of the sessions that we are putting on Dachi. And so many people are willing to help. So many people are willing to give away their time for free, and because they believe in the cause, they believe that it's a real problem, and they like seeing that there is something that, and they like being part of the solution. And so I think that's the biggest takeaway for me, is that there are so many people who want to help. And so actively reaching out, actively asking, that is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, Antonio, I totally agree. Yeah, if anyone else would, Renee, would you want to give some of your closing thoughts on all of this now that we're kind of down to 5 minutes? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'd say, for those who are thinking about submitting an idea to Lookup or to any other sort of startup accelerator in digital wellness space, I would say, one, I don't know how this advice is going to land, but see if there are other people already doing the idea that you have within the community, because you can have 100 people trying to build the same kind of like app that helps people be mindful about their social media use, etc. And every single one of those 100 people is going to need 100 people to support them. So if we all sort of like work together on ideas rather than have this sort of, I think the startup world can tend a little bit individualistic. We create these sort of like cults of personality around founders and being a founder. And so, actually, like, when you want to solve a problem, it takes a lot of humility in leadership and a lot of ability to work well with teams and to reach out to others and bring them into the circle. So when we're looking at these like huge problems, I think it's always better to band together and see if somebody else is already trying to work on a problem that you really care about, and to join forces with them. Yeah, and that way we can avoid just like creating more and more and more apps that, just sort of get lost in the noise of the digital world, and actually make some meaningful change. So that's my first comment. And then second, I would say, like, living your life with a camera on you at all times. So like being on social media, even to promote your startup, that kind of thing, can be really draining, and it can be really antithetical to forming a community, because you're always conscious of yourself and you're always thinking about you. So I would just say, as much as you possibly can, like, keep that camera off of your face, and keep your eyes on other people at all times, in connection. Thanks.
No, thank you, Renee. Very poetic. And I think we have a few minutes, so I think maybe Felix and Taylor could give like a minute last kind of closing thought, and then I'll do my minute as well. Taylor, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I love what Renee said, like both about kind of making sure that you're making the most impact rather than just like doing maybe something for the sake of doing it. And also with like realizing the extent to which you use social media and just being aware of that. I think sometimes even just the awareness really help, because I feel like it's so easy to just kind of spend so long on it, and then you don't really realize how much of your day and like how much other stuff you could be doing during that time, whether it's like connecting with people, just resting, or like, I don't know, being productive too. And I think that as like kind of a closing thought, I think that it's like, I guess I would just say that it's like really important, if you are thinking of starting something, first of all, to not necessarily like doubt yourself. And I think we've talked a lot about like how a lot of us didn't necessarily have the skills that we needed when we were starting these platforms, but kind of tried to like learn. And so don't really put it in the perspective of something that if you don't have, like you can't really do. And I think you can always also find other people to help you with that. And like, I think that's kind of what you should do, is find people who are good at different things. And then also to really do your research, I would say. And so that includes both like research on, because all of us kind of, you have like hunches and you have your lived experiences with social media, but I also think it's really important to kind of look into both like the academic research and talk to a lot of people to see all types of experiences, so you're not just coming from your own angle.
I think that's my cue. So I'm gonna keep it really brief. To get back to what I said, it's not about spending less time on your phone. It's about spending more time on your life. It's really keep that goal in mind. Not I want to spend less on my phone. Like I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. It's really about what do you want. It's not like Martin Luther King said. It's not like I have a nightmare. It's I have a dream. So the problem right now we're facing was said best, I think, by William James, which is this amazing quote. I want to end on today. It's the quality of life equals what we pay attention to, whether by choice or default. My message to you is really make it a choice.
Yeah, thank you, Felix. I don't think I have anything left to say. I think that quote is a great end to this panel. I think it's important not to give up on hope. Like obviously seeing all the big corporations and how pervasive technology and social media is, it's easy to feel a little fatalistic, you know, like they're going to take over. But, you know, like I think this thing we call life, the whole world we've created was all built by people. And so there's a lot of room for a new, better world to, you know, emerge. So yeah, it was great to do this panel. Great to see all of you. Hopefully the audience took some stuff away from some of our rambling and maybe some of our good ideas as well. I think the next panel's starting. So Kate, I'll turn it over to you and have a great rest of your day, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. You're all amazing. The impact that you're creating in this space is really palpable, and I just want to encourage you to keep going, because you're doing all the right moves. So thank you so much for being with us today, and we'll listen to the next panelists. So have a good one, everyone. Thank you. All right, so as I bring on this next panel, I just want to introduce everyone. So we're going to hear from Tech Life Balance, Fact or Cap, and they will provide us some insight onto this elusive concept of tech life balance. And I will start by introducing Ryan Bell, and he will be on the screen in a few moments. We're going to take a brief break, and then he'll be on.